What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So a lot of people have been asking for the Pirate Rumble tier list. It's been a long time since I've actually done a Rumble tier list. So we're going to be doing that today. We're going to be going through every single legend in the game, putting them on the list. Well, some might not make it onto the list. I'm not going to have every character on here. We have 5 different tiers, as you can see. We have the very top tier, like the characters that you're going to see very consistently. We have top picks, so characters that you can definitely use in top level teams. And then you've got like great picks, so like they're not like the best choices, but they're like relative replacements for some of the characters in the higher tiers. There's the niche, so you can use them for very specific teams, but more often than not, you're not going to see them that often. And then like the characters, like if you don't have anything else, these characters are okay. There are a vast majority of Rumble characters that are pretty bad, which we're not going to be touching up on. And I guess we don't have every single icon on here. Like, for example, with a character that super evolves and they've got like different abilities upon super evolving, I guess I'll kind of touch up on that as we get to each individual unit. So let's go ahead and start things off. The first one that really comes to mind is going to be Whitebeard. Whitebeard, honestly, he's actually a pretty good pick. Very low special CT, and he can health cut all characters for like a 51% health cut or something. For the CT that he has for his special is actually pretty ridiculous. So Whitebeard's a really, really good character. Now moving past that, there's actually a lot of bad units. Kuzan, when Rumble first came out, Kuzan was okay, but probably not too much these days. A lot of these characters are just characters you're not really going to see all that much. Pretty bad units. But then we get to Borsalino. I think Borsalino, he's a bit of a weird one. I think he is a great pick. It's a bit of a weird one with him. So he can be used in slashers or shooter teams. And the thing with Borsalino is that he is a very good unit to use, but the issue is that he's a 55 cost character, as most characters that we're going to touch up on in this video are going to be. So, you know, wasting a whole slot for a character such as that, it does hurt sometimes. He doesn't do that much damage, but he can apply lots of attack buffs for your crew. Very, very low special CT. He can launch his special multiple times. Sometimes he gets still use his special 2 or 3 times before anyone else on your crew actually uses a special. But the increase of special CT for your shooters and slasher teams is actually pretty gosh darn good. Corazon, he's kind of like, if nothing else, you can use him for sure, but he's really like not the best, honestly. Same with Frankie, like he can be used kind of like in shooter teams for a more defensive aspect, but probably not really going to use him all that much. Same with Dogstorm. I mean, when Rumble first dropped, he was basically only exclusively used in slasher teams, and you know, if you don't have good offensive slasher characters, he's like pretty bad, but I guess somewhat usable, I suppose. I think Doflamingo is a pretty great pick. You could almost put him in top pick, but I think he's a pretty good pick. Can be used in slasher or driven teams, providing pretty good damage output actually, and also providing pretty good bulk to the squad as well. Moving on from that, we don't have too many other characters. The healer characters I'm not really going to put on the list, honestly, because they're just really not that good, unless if you want to use them for a defensive focused team. Rob Lucci's kind of like, if you don't have anything else, you can use him in shooter teams, I suppose, but he's really like kind of not that good, honestly. Supermask, Sabo, Marco, Whitebeard, not really. Kuzan, not really either. Katakuri, honestly, he's kind of niche. You mainly only use super type Katakuri for your mono int teams that are going up against Psi teams. Like if you're specifically building an int team to take on opposing Psi squads, Katakuri is used for that. But even saying that, there's like other characters you could potentially use over him. This is basically an int version of Wano Law. It's basically how it goes. But there's just other characters on int squads that you would probably use over him. But he definitely sees some play here and there for sure. Moving on, we do have Rayleigh. Rayleigh is, he's okay. I think he's kind of a niche pick though. Like you can definitely use him. There are better units to use on a Dex team, but he's fine. Wano Law is a top pick. If you're building like a Psi team, Psi free spirit focused team, Law is going to be on that team. Increase special CT for your team, decreasing the special CT of your opponent's driven and powerhouse characters. If this character didn't exist, the whole meta, especially in the early days of Rumble, would have changed and been put on its head. This character almost alone really caused a lot of shifts in the early stages of Rumble. These days, Law is definitely not as strong. He definitely can be annoying, but he doesn't do much with his special. He'll bit of fix damage here or there. He does remove a couple of different debuffs. Removing debuffs is a bit niche in Rumble altogether, but this guy is a beast in Rumble. I'd say he's a little bit lower than meta these days because like the mono Psi-Free Spirit team is usable still, but it doesn't see as much play as some other squads that we'll talk about a little bit later. Moving on. The Halloween characters are really not that good. Blackbeard is a very top pick. If you're running a Dex team, Blackbeard will be one of those characters that you would be looking out for sure. Who else do we have here? We've got Zoro. Zoro sees a little bit of play. I'd say he's kind of like niche. You can run him in a Dex team. He's a pretty good offensive threat in Dex teams, but he's fine. Mihawk, if nothing else, he's a character you can use on Dex or Slasher teams. I think more often they'd use him on Slasher teams, but Slashers already have like a really well-established team. This character's very hard to squeeze on there, but again, if you don't have some of the other Slashers, I suppose you could use him. He's not that great though, to be fair. Enever, I'd say, is kind of a niche pick. You can use him, especially with the fact that he's now a 20 cost character. I'd say the fact that he is 20 cost actually makes him a great pick. I wouldn't say he's a top pick. You can use him on the team if you have him. Luckily enough, if you can get him, he's actually pretty solid to have. But he doesn't see a hell of a lot of play these days. But the 20 cost makes him very usable on the bench or on the front line, wherever you want to put him. Ace versus Akainu. Now, I suppose this is talking about Akainu because Ace doesn't see a hell of a lot of play, but Akainu, on the other hand, is a very good unit. I'd say Sakazuki is still a pretty top pick if you're running mono quick, like quick-driven, quick powerhouse squads. They're going to use Sakazuki. Like, you're going to have that character if you're building a very solid team. His character is absurdly strong. Who else do we have after that? Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria is a meta character. This character is going to be meta for quite a while, but like a little bit of caveat with Moria is that more characters have been introduced with the ability to resist half stats. Moria was one of the first characters to inflict half stats to the opponent. Very frustrating character to go up against. Very good character though. If you're building an int team, you're probably putting Moria on the team because not only are you, like, halving stats is such a broken mechanic, because not only are you making it easier for your team to do more damage against those characters that are inflicted with the debuff, but also those characters that are inflicted do less damage to you, so it makes your team tanky, but it also makes your team stronger as well. Plus, he's got a good rumble ability that just helps out your int squads. Moria is fantastic. Cracker, I would say, is a meta character. Very good for slasher powerhouse teams. I mean, if you're running like a quick powerhouse squad, if you're running slasher squads, this character is going to be featured in that team in some way, shape, or form. Even if you have a team that's like rainbow-centric, you can chuck Cracker on there because he just kind of helps out in a lot of ways. So very, very good unit there. Final Tap Kid, I would say, is a great pick. Probably a top pick, but I'm going to put him as a great pick. Just the damage through defense characters are always going to be somewhat relevant, so you always have to keep them in the back of your mind. Make sure you know which characters they are, because damage through defense is one of the most busted mechanics in the game, and if you can have characters that can do that on your squad, it makes your squad so much better. Moving on though, who else do we have? We've got Marco, not so much. Germa crew. Germa, if nothing else, you can use them. They're fine, you know, they're perfectly okay, I would say. I'd say Ace and Sabo are kind of like, if nothing else, you can use them, but there's definitely better units you can use over them, so probably not the best choice. King and Queen. I think Queen is kind of a niche pick. You can use him for sure. I'd say with King as well. Like, King is probably more, if nothing else. He's not the best, but if you don't have much else, then King is usable in a quick team. Queen on Dex squads is actually pretty solid. He's got a good damage dealing special. He only targets one character, but it's pretty big damage, and he has the potential to action bind a bunch of your opponents, and he's got a good defensively focused rumble ability, so I guess he deserves to make it to the list. Toki is a character that will see some kind of niche usages on strength teams for sure. The Psy Straw Hats, if nothing else, you can use them, but again, same issue arises with this character, is that it counts as every single Straw Hat, so if this character is on your Rumble team, you can't use any other Straw Hat on your squad, so it makes it a little bit difficult for team building. Vivi, I would say, is also like, if nothing else, you can use him on a strength squad. We've got Dex Borsalino. If nothing else, he's fine. He's not the best choice, but the fact that he is 20 cost now definitely makes him a little bit better, so I guess I'll bump him up. But he's not the best choice. He doesn't do that much. Carrot, I'm not a big fan of Carrot, but if nothing else, you can use it for sure. Kuma is a great pick. I would say actually, no, he's probably a top pick. I got to keep remembering these Rumble units are now 20 cost. The fact that he's a 20 cost character that can do what he does, he's a top pick for strength teams. If you have him, he's going to be pretty much on every single strength squad because of what he can do. Damage through defense, one of the best mechanics in the game. Yamato is a top pick. Sees lots of play on Psy teams, Free Spirit squads. If you've got the int version, you can use that on your int squads, just usable in a lot of different ways. But again, because same thing with One of Law, like the Sci-Free Spirit squad is being less and less popular of a choice. It goes down a little bit, but still a good choice, honestly, because the character just does so much damage. And again, half stats, very, very good mechanic that the character gets access to. Jack is the next one. I think Jack is a top pick. Very good character. He has a rainbow set of skills. You can use him in any team whatsoever. Low special CT, health cutting effect, same as Whitebeard. But the thing is that Jack's rumble ability is so much better than Whitebeard's. Whitebeard's ability only gets like really good when he's below like 50% or 30% HP or something, whereas Jack's is always going to be good. So that's something that's good. And another thing with Jack is that when he uses his special, he also gives your team defense, which is also really good. Though that offsets with Whitebeard just providing a better health cut, but Jack giving defense and health cut is just a better set of skills overall. Halloween Boa Hancock is very good defensively, not very good on offense. Perona, not really so much. I think Pudding is actually a pretty good pick. After using the new 10th anniversary Luffy for a little bit, Pudding is a nice character to have for those squads. Really, really good character, kind of underrated. Doflamingo, I would say, is also a niche pick. The only real problem with him is that his rumble ability is driven focused, and building mono driven is just kind of not good, but his rumble special is so strong. You know, damage through defense, again, gotta keep saying it, it's very, very strong. What else do we have here? Brook is like his niche. You can use him on your Dex teams potentially. He's definitely better in Grand Party because if you don't, you know, kill all of your opponents, you can still win if you have more characters than your opponent in Grand Party. But in normal Rumble, having a character that does what Brook does, not as valuable, unfortunately. But then we move into the big boys. Here we go. Roger Whitebeard, definitely a meta pick. Arguably one of the best Rumble units to ever debut in One Piece Treasure Cruise. This character is just way too good. This character is completely overtuned, even on debut, completely busted. The 30% health cut to all characters and 2 hits of huge damage through defense. It doesn't happen all the time, but a lot of the times you use this special, it's almost guaranteed to knock out 2 characters. I mean, depending on your opponent that you're coming up against. Very busted character. Luffy crew, if nothing else, I guess, I mean, similar things with the side straw hats. If nothing else, you can use them. Strength Odin. Strength Odin definitely sees a lot of play. Like, basically, he is a meta character because if you're coming up against Slasher, which is one of the top teams in Rumble right now, Odin is going to be there. So he's a top pick for sure. Very good in Rumble. These characters, like, if nothing else, I mean, Cat Viper is slightly better, but like, there's better units to use on Dex teams these days. It is what it is. We've got Doflamingo. Doflamingo is a character that you will see a decent amount of usage in Rumble. He's definitely better in Grand Party, I found. I mean, these days, if you're running like mono Dex, you're usually going to be using Dex teams against quick squads, and a lot of the times you're not even going to need your bench against quick teams. So Doflamingo's still good though. Really, really good character to look out for. Psy Odin. This character can be used on like mono free spirit teams, or he can be used in like Psy free spirit teams. I think he's also a very high meta pick. This character's abilities, like, just on paper, are absurdly strong. Great Rumble ability, a fantastic special ability, does so much damage, and he's a generically normal release character, so getting investments for him is a lot easier than like Roger Whitebeard or Odin, for example, right? Okay, next, Kinemon Denjiro. This character, I mean, if nothing else, you can use them, they're okay. Izo, if you're running a mono quick squad, if nothing else, they're fine. Frankie Tanky, not so much. Brook, Rogue niche usage, very similar to Katakuri. If you're building mono int to take on specifically side teams, then Rogue is very good versus those squads. Drake, Kuzan's actually kind of alright. He's not too bad, to be honest, but finding a place for him is an issue. His Rumble special is good, his Rumble ability is good, but his classes are a bit funky. Being striker and shooter, his classes don't have a lot of good synergy with the fact that he's also like a Psy focused character. Like, a lot of the good Psy units are also free spirit that can somehow boost free spirit. He doesn't do that. So Kuzan, if there was a good like striker team that was Psy focused, or a shooter team that was Psy focused, Kuzan would be much higher, but unfortunately, he's just kind of not, which is a bit of a shame. Marco, no. Kaido, no, he's just bad. Ace and Yamato, if nothing else, for sure. The waifus are actually not bad. If you're running a strength squad, I think that they're kind of a niche pick these days because they take up a lot of cost on your team. But honestly, a pretty good unit, honestly, for what they do. Sakazuki, definitely not. Kid is a very good character. Kid is a character that you will actually see quite a lot. I would say he's a top pick. If you're building like into driven teams, Kid is going to be on that team, no doubt. Adds a lot of bulk, and he also does some debuffs against Sai. So again, if you're building an int team versus Sai, this is a character you may want to look out for. So be on the lookout for him. Smoothie has definitely gotten a massive upgrade since the introduction of that 20 cost system. Very good for quick teams, very good for that quick slasher squad. You can use it even on mono slashers as well, but like the quick slasher squad with cross guild, you got Smoothie as well, these two characters that can special reverse characters. You've got Roger and Odin, which can inflict like the special cooldown for your squad. Momonosuke, like great quick slasher squads are just very good. Where are we at? We've got Blackbeard. Blackbeard's definitely sees play. I'm not really the biggest fan of Blackbeard, but I respect the fact that he sees a lot of play. If you're building int driven, he's good. In Powerhouse, he's good. So you can chuck him on those squads. As for the Toby Ropo, who's who is the best of them. But even then, it's like, yeah, he's not like the best pick, but he can do damage through defense. So you got to respect what that's capable of providing to the squad. Katakuri is a good character, but he's focused on fighters, and fighters are just terrible, so it is what it is. Same with Ulti, like fighters are terrible, but she's fine. Who else we got? Like, if you want some heals, you could potentially use Chopper, I suppose. You know, it is what it is. Next is going to be Shiki. Shiki, if nothing else, Shiki's a good choice, but honestly, he does see quite a decent amount of play, like a little bit more than some of these units down the bottom. So yeah, Shiki's a niche pick. If you don't have much else for your quick squads, Shiki is okay. He's definitely better when you have those investments and the super evolution, but not the most optimal choice. Shanks is okay. He's like cerebral focused, so he's fine, but he's not great, I guess. He's not a great pick. Same with like Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo. If you're building shooter squads, like he's so good, but the thing is, shooter squads absolutely suck. So that's the problem, right? He's got one of the best rumble abilities in the game, but shooters are just so bad, it's not worth running, right? Usopp and Yasop, the same reason. Who else do we have? We've got Garp. Garp sees a little bit of play. I'd say he's probably a little bit niche. The 20 cost definitely helps him out. We've got Hina. Hina is interesting with the action bind stuff, so I guess you gotta respect what that's capable of doing. I don't really like what these characters do. We got K-Dad though. K-Dad are pretty good. I would say that they're a great or a top pick. I'm personally not a K-Dad fan in Rumble. I respect what they do, and they are pretty good. But the way that I build my slasher teams, I don't really have a lot of space to actually put the character in the squad. But they're good. They're good. Especially they've received a couple of buffs over time, so they've definitely become a lot better overall. Orochi, another 20 cost Rumble legend. This character is a pretty solid pick, honestly. Like again, like the 20 cost is a big deal for him. If he didn't have 20 cost, he would never see play. Rurouni Azora, he does see a little bit of play. Got a couple of different buffs recently. I'd say he's probably in the niche tier. There's just better slashers to use, honestly, so it is what it is. Dex Kid, you can use him on Dex teams for sure, but again, there's just better picks, so it is what it is. Rumble Legend page 1, just absolutely god-awful. You know, Boa Hancock, the Strength Kizuna one, can use it on a Strength team for sure, but there's better units. Her special's not good, but her Rumble ability is very good, so that's the big thing with her. Chopper, very good character actually, great Rumble ability, but again, shooters are just a big issue with them, which is a bit of an issue. You got Goldie Roger. Roger is actually a pretty great pick, but there's an issue with him is the fact that, like, again, what teams are you going to use him on? He does have like rainbow abilities. He's good in a lot of different team scenarios, but there's just a lot of other characters you would rather use over him. So that's the kind of issue with him. Like the old school slasher team with this Odin and this Roger was great. Then they introduced Roger Whitebeard, and then this character's like, okay, I guess I'm not on slasher teams anymore. And then you could just put him on a Psy-Free Spirit team, but Psy-Free Spirit's already pretty established with like this, and something else, and squeezing him on there as well could be a bit of a problem. But he's a good pick. They're just better units that you could be using over him. Okay, so moving on, we've got Kaido versus Yamato. This is okay, not the most busted unit out there, but like you can use them for sure. They're perfectly okay units. Nami is garbage. Don't even think about using Nami. She's really bad in Rumble. I'm not a big fan of Robin in Rumble. Like, you can use her. I'm not a big fan. Sugar's actually pretty great. If you're building your quick squad to go up against strength teams, Sugar is one of those key components to those teams to give you a much higher chance of winning. Who have we got next? Whitebeard, not really. Rayleigh Gaban, they're okay, but there's just better units you can use. The quick Luffy, he's okay. He can have a bit of issues with his haste mechanic, because the haste mechanic can bring characters to the top of the order when they're not ready to go yet. That can really screw up your team comp. We've got Cat Dog, who are fine. This Tandem Ace, I'm a big fan of Tandem Ace, but the problem is shooter teams are bad, so I guess that he's not really highly ranked, which is a problem. We've got Kid Luffy, no. Sabo, not so much. Shanks Crew, I just picked up the wrong character, but Shanks Crew here. This character is a character that is niche, or honestly probably even a great pick, because they are a rainbow kit. You can use them in any squad whatsoever, but you know, you can put them on your team and just, you know what you're going to get out of them, because they provide attack and defense buffs, great special ability on a relatively low special CT. Shanks Crew are just good in almost every facet of the game. Ever since the character came out, the character's been broken as hell, and things will continue on with them. Now, as for these two, not really so much. Apu is actually pretty good, though. We're going to put Apu actually a little bit higher. Potentially even a top pick, but I think he's a great pick. If you're building it, you know, once again, the int team to go up against Sai, Apu is one of those characters that makes it in, as well as being a 20 cost character is a huge positive for that unit there. Bonnie, not so much. Barto Cavendish is potentially actually pretty good. I mean, it's the same thing with Cat Dog. Like, you can use them on slasher teams, but there's just better units you can use for slasher these days. We have Jack. No, the Jack, Queen, and King int characters, they're all bad, unfortunately. It is what it is. So Luffy and Yamato, this character is actually pretty good. I would say this character is a great pick. I wouldn't say it's a top pick, because, you know, there's just better Luffys out there, inevitably. There's always going to be better Luffys that always release, and sometimes squeezing other versions of Luffys into the squad can be a bit of an issue. Again, same thing with Yamato. Sometimes squeezing other Yamatos into the team can be a problem, but on paper the character is very solid, so you gotta put some respect on their name. They're very good. Odin and Toki, I think this is another kind of underrated unit. You can use them in a lot of squads. You know, mainly the slasher team is what you'd use them in. But again, if you're building a slasher team, it's like you got this. Or if you're building a free spirit team, you know, you've got this. These Odins are just better versions of this. So, you know, take your pick. If you don't have these Odins, like this Odin's fine, but like these Odins are just better. So it is what it is, right? Next is going to be Sanji. If you're building Free Spirit, he is one of the best characters for Free Spirit teams, and for that reason, he is definitely a meta character. If you're building Free Spirit, he's gonna be on there. He's super good. And Zoro, same thing as Sanji. If you're building a Free Spirit team, you probably want this Zoro. Now, on paper, the Zoro doesn't really do a whole lot. He's a very bulky, defensively focused character, but he is one of the most frustrating characters to deal with. The counter mechanic, along with all of the defense and offensively focused buffs that he gives himself, sometimes Zoro can literally solo a whole squad if he has enough bulk. It can be absurdly strong. And this combo with this and Nami Karina combo, like Nami Karina halting them from using their specials, so they have to use normal attacks, targeting Zoro with the provoke and the counter. It's such a good combo, man. It's so good, especially in Grand Party. It's a lot better because you don't have to worry about, you know, the defensive stuff's definitely better in Grand Party compared to normal Rumble. Now, moving on, I mean, Ivankov is usable for sure. I don't remember exactly what Ivankov does, but the 20 cost is a big thing and can be used to the Quick Cerebral squads. And Quick Cerebral is actually not a terrible team, I guess, but it's just not one of the better teams out there. Shanks and Buggy, I actually really like what Shanks and Buggy do, but again, there's just better units. They're just like they're a really good character you can use for slasher teams that just do so much damage, and they target all characters as well with their special. But there's better Shankses, which is the problem with Shanks and Buggy, and they don't have a lot of bulk either. They're very offensively focused. Okay, Nami and Robin, not Nami, Robin. This is Robin and Koala. Robin and Koala, they're a great pick. If you want to build a team to specifically take on Free Spirit opponents, this is a character you want to look out for. The defense down versus Free Spirit is super strong. So Robin and Koala are a very good character to use in Rumble. Who else do we have here? These characters are not that great. Izo is good for shooter teams, but again, shooter teams are kind of bad. Kawamatsu, if you're building a slasher team, Kawamatsu is a character you will probably see quite a lot of. The special CT reduction is really strong and partnered really well with Odin and K-Dad and stuff. Like that whole like what do they call them? The scabbards, like the scabbard teams with slashes are very, very strong. And we get to the big boy himself, Monkey D. Luffy, Gear 5. This is definitely a meta character. You're going to see lots of him around. The revival, huge damage, damage through defense, great rumble ability, the best grand party leader, you know. There's not much else to say about him. He's so strong. Now, Momo, when he came out, I was thinking Momo was going to be a super busted character in Rumble, but he's really like, he's kind of just eh. He's kind of eh, in my opinion. A lot of people like him. I think he's kind of shit, but it is what it is. A lot of people like him. I completely looked over the fact that Uta is here. Uta is definitely a character you would be using in Rumble. If you're building a Cerebral team, you're probably using her. But she's not that great in Rumble. But if you have the int-driven powerhouse version of Uta, yeah, that definitely is a character you're going to see quite a lot of. So I guess for that reason, she's there. The quick one is not bad either. But if you're building a quick team, there's just better quick teams you can build. The Cerebral one, good for Cerebral teams. But the int-driven powerhouse one, very strong for the int-driven powerhouse team. You know, you got this, you got this, you got this, you got this. You got lots of good characters for those potential teams. Anyways, back down here, I completely skipped over Uta, which is crazy, because Uta's a crazy good unit. Who else do we have? We have Law and Kid. If you are building a Free Spirit team and you don't have like Nami Karina, for example, this is a character that you would probably see. The defense down to Driven Powerhouse makes your team absolutely melt through them with your Free Spirit squad. So, you know, Law and Kid, kind of underrated, actually pretty good. Big Mom, very good for Dex teams. Halving stats, big damage. You'll absolutely love to see it. If you're building a Dex team, Big Mom will probably be on that squad. Kaido, the Magma Kaido, I think he's also kind of good. If you're building a strength squad, you're probably going to see that Kaido. Kazenbo, this Uta, again, Uta's good for shooter teams, but shooter teams are just bad. Tesoro, oh man, Guild Tesoro. Guild Tesoro is a meta pick. He is good in every facet of the game. Every team you can put him on. The increase of special CT, the defense, the fixed damage, relatively decent special CT for what he does. Tesoro is so good, man. One of the best Rumble characters in the game. You'll absolutely love to see it. And right next to Nami and Karina. Arguably the most frustrating character to deal with in Pirate Rumble. Rainbow effects can literally put Nami Karina on any team and it's going to give you net positives. The character doesn't do damage themselves, but the special reverse, the defense down, like legit, this character might be the best character in Pirate Rumble, period. Very frustrating to deal with when you're going against it, and the mirror matches can be so frustrating because if they use their special before yours, you can get stuck in a cycle where their Nami Karina consistently goes over and over and over again, and you just never get to launch a special. This character is a problem. I don't know what they were thinking when they designed this unit. This character is way too strong. Way too strong. Anyways, we move on. We have Shanks, doesn't really see much play, but this Luffy is pretty bonkers. Sometimes, this Luffy will single-handedly wipe the whole floor with your entire opponent's team. The fact that he does damage through defense, so many hits of it is the problem. He just does so much damage. Good rumble ability as well. You know, building the strength powerhouse team. This character is a problem, man. He just does so much damage. It's so strong. Alright, moving on though, we got Katakuri Oven, shout out to them. Kobe definitely sees play in Rumble for sure. If you're building a strength team, Kobe is probably going to be on that squad. I'd say he's probably a top pick. Using him to special CT and then also haste and stuff, he's just annoying to deal with. Kobe's very good. Stampede Luffy, Momonosuke. Momonosuke is one of those key units for the quick slasher squads. I would say he is a top pick. He is very good in Rumble. Big damage and great synergy with Roger and Odin, Super Sugo Fest exclusive. Raizo and Shinobu. Now, as we said, shooter teams are not very good, but Raizo and Shinobu, you can just about put them on any team, and they are going to go so crazy. I've come up against Raizo and Shinobu a couple of times, and if you don't have ways to kind of just deal with them, they can just almost single-handedly win you the game. If you don't have characters that can resist action bind, this character is going to run over the top of you. Big damage actually as well, 5 hits of 2k damage, I mean 10,000 damage guaranteed, and then the action bind for so many characters, for so many turns, it's a problem. I hate Raizo Shinobu just as much as Nami Karina, but Nami Karina with their rumble ability are just better, but very annoying to deal with. The next is Roger and Odin. Roger and Odin are the key component of building that quick and slasher team, so they are definitely a top pick. The quick and slasher team isn't like one of the top meta teams, but it's very close to being that, and Roger and Odin are a key component of that team functioning the way that it does. Yamato doesn't really see any play in Rumble, unfortunate. Zoro and Sanji, man, this character's pretty good too. Now, they're not as busted as they are in normal content, but they are definitely a top pick. I really like what they do. They provide huge defense and offensively focused abilities for your other slasher characters, and as long as you have another Straw Hat on your team, being able to haste all of your slasher units is very, very good. And I really like the fact that they didn't make this character free spirit focused, because we've already got this Sanji and this Zoro that are, you know, free spirit focused. So I'm so glad that this character was also not free spirit focused, so there's like an overlap. But yeah, this character for slasher teams, it's not like, I don't know if it's the most optimal unit. I don't even know what the most optimal choices are for slashers, because there are so many good units you can use for them. But this character is a good unit to use for slashers, like one of the top units you can be using for your slasher teams. Kind of like K-Dad, like a lot of choices come down between K-Dad. Do you want the offense from them? Do you want the utility from Zoro and Sanji? It depends on what you have on your account, as we'll get to it a little bit later. So moving on from that, we have Trafalgar Law. If nothing else, yes, you can use them, but he's fine. Ace is also actually pretty decent. Ace is, I'd say he's a great pick. After remembering what he does, yeah, he's actually a pretty solid unit. He can just do like crazy amounts of damage, and he's just a good unit to use for your squads. So if you're building like a shooter, which is not great, or a striker team, Ace is an okay pick for them. Next is going to be the Onsen Luffy. Now, to be honest, I don't even remember what Onsen Luffy does. Okay, I just had a brief look at him, and he is not really that good, but I mean, if nothing else, you can run him for quick teams, I guess, but he's not that great. Kaido is a character you are going to see a lot of in Rumble. Is he a meta pick? He probably is, honestly, a meta pick. If you're building like a quick team, quick driven team, quick powerhouse team, Kaido is a character you're going to see a lot of, like big damage, defense down, he just hits really hard, very reasonable special CT for his special as well. So Kaido is a very, very good unit. Moving on, we have Lilith. Lilith is not really that great, unfortunately. The whole Vegapunk squads are just kind of bad. Bonnie, not so much either. Boa Hancock is okay. She's not too bad, I guess, but there's definitely a lot better units you can use over her. Rayleigh, not really so much either. Blackbeard is a character that you will actually see a little bit of play with. The thing is he's good at providing a health cut, and his rumble ability is pretty good. Then the real problem with Blackbeard is that his special CT is a little on the high end. I really would have wished they would have shaved a few seconds off with him to make him like a really top rumble pick. But as it stands right now, he's perfectly okay the way that he is, but if that special CT was a little lower, it would have definitely made him a lot better. Jesus Burgess, I mean, he's fine, but he's not really like the best choice, honestly. But oh man, we get to the most overtuned, overpowered Rumble character to ever debut in the history of the game, and that is S-Hawk. I don't know what they were smoking when they come up with this unit. This is the most broken character in Pirate Rumble right now. If you can somehow get this unit, your teams become so much better. You can run your int teams, you can run your driven teams, you can run your slasher teams. This character helps out all those squads, and look, even if you're running a team that isn't int, driven, or slasher focused, he's 20 cost. You can chuck him on whatever team you want, and he's going to help you in so many ways. Now look, we're not putting these tiers in order, but I mean, this is probably the best character you can be running. Like the slasher teams with this, and this, and this, like it just goes so hard. It's so strong. Yeah, S-Hawk, for those of you who don't know what he does, he's got like a 27 CT, which is very reasonable for a cooldown, right? The only real issue is that his special ability targets 3 characters. I believe it's with low defense, or it might be with high defense. Either way, he targets 3 characters guaranteed for massive damage through defense. So it's guaranteed to hit 3 characters. It does huge damage through defense, and then his rumble ability, it helps with slasher health and then like a bit of int stuff. But like the special also gives a bit of HP recovery to himself as well. So he does provide a little bit of self-sufficient healing. But man, the fact that he's a 20 cost character, relatively low CT, that can do that much damage through defense to 3 guaranteed targets, we hadn't seen anything like that before, and the 20 cost as well is just that's what tips it over the edge. If this character was 55 cost, I think most people would be like, okay, yeah, we get it, but the fact that they made the Rumble Legends 20 cost is like, it literally blows my mind that they made a character that strong. So yeah, that's like the best character in Rumble that's come out, to be honest. We got Cross Guild next. Cross Guild, again, for the quick slasher teams, they're actually, like, again, you want to be using him with this, and then Smoothie, wherever I put her, she's around here somewhere. You'd want to be using that all together. So, you got Smoothie, Momo, Roger Odin, Cross Guild, like that. That's such a good core. And then you can use Tezora on that team as well. So, yeah, look out for that. The Toby Ropo, we got the Dofi and Sugar, Moria and Perona. S Shark, 20 cost character, I mean, fine. It's kind of like a nerfed version of this Zor, but it's for Dex teams instead. But he's just a worse version of Zor, so can't really recommend putting him on teams unless if you don't have much else to put on teams. Next, we've got all these units here. I mean, like, these units are like fine. I mean, Bonnie, not really so much, but the anniversary units though, hello. We got this new Monkey D. Luffy with the new introduction of the Force Out mechanic. This character, honestly, I think he's a meta unit. I think this Luffy is quite a meta choice. The ability of Force Out against Free Spirit is so good because Free Spirit are one of those top teams right now that are really annoying to take on, and having Luffy being able to force them out, and then if you get yourself in a situation where the Force Out characters are the last ones remaining, you instantly win the game, and being able to force them out and then just deal with the other characters is just really nice. Like, for example, if there's a character with a Rumble ability that says, for example, Super Tandem Luffy, which I guess we'll talk about very, very shortly. But Super Tandem Luffy has the ability to revive one of your other allies when they die. But if you force him out because he's Free Spirit, then that effect doesn't activate. So that's such a good mechanic that you can abuse. So Luffy is definitely the top, but the only real issue with Luffy is building teams around him is a problem, because there's not really great choices for like the int teams. I mean, I guess we talked about it before, but Bonnie was a character I was actually trialing out with Luffy, and I think it works okay for sure, but I just think that the int teams need a bit of support when you're not focusing around like Driven, for example. Like Moria can still kind of work with him. You can still use S-Hawk, that works fine. This kid, he gives bust to Driven. Obviously, Luffy isn't Driven, so that doesn't really work. Like into Yamato, potentially, but there's not a lot of bulk on that team. It's very offensively focused, and that can be a little bit of an issue. But offensively, this Luffy is very, very good. We move on though, we've got Goldie Roger. I think this is kind of like a bait character. I think a lot of people see his abilities like, oh my god, look at the super strong health cut. It's got a very high CT. His rumble ability is okay. You can use him for sure, but there's just better dex units to be using over this guy, which is just the way that it is. Now Shanks, I think Shanks is very good. Now I made a very harsh decision on him for my normal tier list, and a lot of people really upset the way that I ranked Shanks, but if we're talking about Pirate Rumble, I think he's actually very good. This is another one of those flex choices that you have for slasher teams. As we talked about a little bit earlier for slashers, like there's a lot of choice that you have for good units. You got like Kawamatsu, you got K-Dad. This is another unit you could use. Zoro Sanji's another unit you can use. I'm currently using Shanks in my slasher team, and I think it works pretty well. His Rumble ability doesn't provide a lot of defense, but the special is where a lot of the bulk will come from. Adding attack, defense, big damage to one target, but also adding a shield can also be kind of clutch. So I think Shanks is a good choice for Pirate Rumble slasher teams. But you can use him not only in slasher teams, you can use him in cerebral teams, you can use him in a lot of different squads, which I really, really like. Moving on from that, we have Ace, and I think Ace is another great character you can use in Rumble. Building him is a bit of a different way of building Dex teams. He actually works really well with this Dex Luffy, this one right here. Now, unfortunately, this character, when he super evolves, he does change. So he went from only buffing Dex. When he super evolves, he buffs fighters instead, and that is an inherent nerf. Now, when I rank him, I'm only talking about normal 6-star Luffy because he is much better in Rumble, and I'm going to put this character as a top pick here, the top meta pick, due to the fact that those Dex teams are very, very strong when they have that Luffy on them. So if you're building a Dex team, you want to have 6-star Luffy on there because the revive mechanic that he has is very good, very OP for Dex teams. If you don't have it, your Dex team is so much worse without it. So for those reasons, I'm putting him up there. Ace, honestly, can be in the top pick. Ace is a good character for deck squads. I'm going to definitely be trialing him out and see how it goes moving forward. Might go down, honestly, but I think Ace is pretty good in Rumble. Now we move on to S-Snake. S-Snake, I think she's okay. I think she's an okay character in Rumble, but again, there's so many like flex spots for decks. There's a lot of good legends, and they all like kind of synergize with each other, but there's not really too many units that are just like top tier meta picks for decks. Like Luffy, you want him. Big Mom, we talked about her earlier, she's really good for dex teams. Blackbeard's very, very good for dex teams, and outside of that, it's like, well, it depends on what else you want from that point onwards. Next is Rob Lucci. Rob Lucci, very similar to the Zoro that we talked about earlier, very similar to this Zoro, where he's a dex unit that is like really offensively focused. He is slightly better than Zoro, honestly, in Rumble, but it depends. Like, you know, it's fine. Like, if you're building like a super offensive dex team, potentially could be a choice, but you don't really need to use him. He's fine. There's a lot of the characters up here are better. But if you're building a dex team, you don't have some of these key units, he's a perfect choice. He's okay. He doesn't add a lot of bulk. Very offensively focused. Not a lot of defensively focused abilities with him, but still pretty good. And then we got like Zoro and Sanji. Again, Zoro potentially is fine. And then Sanji, on the other hand, I think Sanji is very good. I think he's a very, very good character for those Sci-Free Spirit teams, but the issue is that, you know, Sci-Free Spirit has been falling out of favor with a lot of the people in the community. So, if Sci-Free Spirit hypothetically is like the best team in the game, like a lot of these characters would probably be jumped up a tier. Like Law would be up there, Yamato would be up there, Sanji would probably move up as well. But because of the slight, you know, favorable changes to other characters, then these are the characters at the top here that I think are like the top meta characters, and building teams around these units is going to, you know, provide you with some of the best success. Now look, just because you have one of these units doesn't immediately mean you can build a super broken team. You definitely need combinations of some of these characters in the upper echelon tiers to make the most out of it. And another thing that is kind of, we haven't touched up on, that is going to make your teams much better in Rumble is getting access to Pirate Rumble rare recruits, because those characters having 20 cost is a big deal, and they usually have very, very good abilities for the cost that they provide for your squad. I mean, we haven't added them here. We probably should have added them here, but you've got like Rebecca and Toy Soldier. You've got characters like the new Int Brook that came out that synergizes really well with Zoro and Sanji. You've got the Int Cat Viper that came out recently. Int Shiki that came out recently is actually pretty good. You've got Strength King, you've got Dex Pell, Dex Dalton. You've got a lot of good choices out there. I mean, for Quick as well, Quick Fujitora, you've got Porchemi, you've got Blue Jam. There's so many good Pirate Rumble rare recruits out there that are able to be used in a lot of good teams, and potentially even just building around your Pirate Rumble rare recruits might be a really good way to go about it as well. But that is going to wrap it up from me. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.